Hi, I'm Jeff Cohen, the economist running for Congress in the Illinois 9th District. Thank you for being here today. I'm here to discuss affordability and the three pillars on which my agenda is built: income, healthcare, and housing. But before I begin discussing the economy, I want to acknowledge Governor Pritzker and others who've called for the immediate removal of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Lawlessness at the hands of an agency meant to uphold the law is emblematic of the colossal damage that Donald Trump is doing to this country. So I'm here in Evanston outside the historic Lorraine Morton Civic Center. Why today? Because 1 week ago, reality happened. Millions of Americans who got their health insurance through the Affordable Care Act lost their ability to pay. A typical young family here in Chicago who got their insurance on the exchange is now paying twice as much in their premiums. That's usually on the order of about $25,000. That is if they don't drop out. And we will all pay for this. There's no escaping the cascading effects. Increased private insurance costs, Medicare price escalation through cost shifting, and hidden giant costs in the form of reduced productivity because of poorer health. So affordability is three things: healthcare, income, housing. Now, I have no doubt that every other candidate in this race can say the word affordability like it's magic. I mean, hell, Donald Trump has started saying it. But I've spent 30 years working on economic problems, and I can tell you that affordability is not a talking point. These gaps, income to the cost of goods, income to healthcare, income to housing costs, these gaps are why a 79-year-old tells me they're working at a call center as a retirement plan. These gaps are why a teacher tells me they're picking up Uber shifts to make ends meet. And these gaps are why younger people are wondering if they'll ever be able to afford their own home. So let's talk about some concrete proposals. Number one is income. Income solves a lot. So first, I propose a small business profit sharing plan. 40% of Americans get their paycheck from a small business, and I want a federal tax incentive to create additional profit sharing pools for employees. It'll wind up being revenue neutral, and it's going to put money in people's pockets. Second, I want to make the earned income tax credit biweekly. That means more regular cash flow. Third, I want a critical jobs project to fill demand for nurses, electricians, plumbers. This means tuition and training reimbursement. So for example, so you know that I did the math, for the 267,000 nurses that we're going to be short in 2028, funding half their education is $10 billion. That's a tiny drop in the budget, the federal budget. Now, if you're curious why I suggest these examples, it's the economy. Two giant demand factors are driving them: the growing aging population and, of course, the boom in technology. So I say start there, fill the need, move to the next. Think of them as economic lighter fluid. Now, affordability point number two. We must relentlessly address the three pieces of the healthcare problem: providers, insurance, and medicine. So, again, proposals. One, revamp the FDA clinical trials process. We should be using the lessons we learned from COVID, which is that it's possible to move many drugs through the system faster and cheaper. Two, we need a senior 529 plan. I want a tax-deferred savings plan for medical expenses for seniors so they don't have to spend themselves down into poverty to qualify for Medicaid. Three, something I call Project Payback. Give us 4 years and we'll pay for med school. We need more doctors, some of whom need visa help, in communities that have poor access. The cost there is about $13 billion for half their tuition. Again, it's a tiny dent in the federal budget. 4, I want to pilot Medicare for all. Maybe the federal government's cost could bring down costs. Maybe the federal government's size could bring down costs. But we can't responsibly just say that without knowing more. Let's test the case, federally fund it for 2 years so that we can be smarter. And 5, I think we need way more hospital merger scrutiny. How do we do that? We get people on congressional committees who have oversight, who have the economic expertise that matters. Last, I want to talk about housing. This gap is huge. It's a legacy of the mortgage crisis. It's a legacy of Trump's supply tariffs that are still continuing, and it's even chaotic ICE raids. So what can we do concretely? One is condition federal funding on housing in dense public transit heavy neighborhoods. Why? Because the economist here tells you that that's the most efficient use of our federal dollars. Those places already have a built-up infrastructure, and they also require lower household living expenses, so there are economies of scale. You know, living in this 9th district is highly desirable. People want to live here. Let's use that economic lever. Okay, 2, we need building incentives for efficient, quality modular housing and for repurposing. So for me, that means federal dollars for communities that will streamline the process. That will speed up the supply gap we are all feeling. Last, I want to say about housing, and I sound like a broken record, income solves a lot of problems there as well. So thank you very much for listening. I look forward to talking about solutions to affordability in this campaign, not just wishful thinking. There's much more detail available on my website, jeffcohenforcongress.com, and I hope you go there to learn more. Thank you.